young people, this is kind of interesting. We're going to look at an agency in Georgia that are training cops to shoot arms and legs, pinky toes, earlobes, and other areas so we don't kill somebody. So, and I know the first reaction from most cops and most use of force people is, this is crazy, this is going to get cops killed. I don't believe that. I always like giving people options. Cops have been mandated to shoot center mass, large body part, the largest mass available center mass. Those are more likely to kill. There are plenty of times when cops could shoot a leg. They have the time, they're behind cover, they have time to aim, and they could shoot a leg. But because it's not an option and they weren't trained to do it, they're not allowed to do it. And if they do try to shoot a leg and miss and it goes bad, then they're going to say they violated policy because they're trained to shoot center mass. This agency is training to shoot limbs and center mass, and it gives the officer the ability to choose, and therefore he doesn't get held accountable if he doesn't shoot center mass and try to kill the guy. I think this is a good thing. I don't think it ought to be mandatory. Unfortunately, I can predict the way things happen. Every time a cop shoots center mass, they're going to say, why didn't you shoot here? And that's the big thing that most agencies didn't want to open that Pandora's box. If we just keep it, everybody shoots the same, everybody shoots center mass, we avoid the why didn't you every time somebody does it. But to me, yeah, you shouldn't be worried. You shouldn't be making policy that makes it easy on government. You need to be making policy that is right. And this is right policy in my book. My agency didn't want warning shots. Big thing about warning shots. Don't shoot warning shots. Bullet could hurt somebody. I didn't like that. I had it worded that instead of saying warning shots were prohibited, like most agencies say, our policy said warning shots are discouraged except in extreme or justified incidents. Therefore, it gave the officers an out, which I actually used it one time when I didn't want to shoot a dog because I just killed 2 dogs like a week before or 2 days before, and then I was chasing some dude through a yard and a dog comes at me and I didn't want to kill this dog because I jumped the fence. It was his freaking yard. So instead I fired a round on the ground right in front of his face as he was charging me, and he stopped, turned around and belled, and I didn't have to shoot him. And, you know, there was a lot of people that said, he violated the policy. We have no warning shots. And my lieutenant was like, actually, he was involved in this and he specifically did not want prohibited, and he left an out, and he did concur with policy. But anyway, didn't stop the agency from trying to charge me for discharging a firearm. And they're saying, see, had I shot the dog, the agency wouldn't have cared. But because I didn't shoot the dog, they said I was discharging a firearm, and he said limits. They tried to do a case. The DA laughed at him and said, I ain't charging this shit, you freaking idiots. Anyway, let's get to this video here. So with this target, green and yellow are what's considered non-lethal. Red is lethal. Now, obviously, if you hit an artery in the leg, pelvic girdle, high blood-rich area, you know, shatter the bone, hit an artery, so people can bleed out in these, but it's less likely when you're going for the lungs and heart and spine. The spine area, head, lungs, heart, brain, those things tend to kill people when bullets go through them.
We're out here today at our firing range. Our officers are going through this week their annual qualification.
Now, in this video, I'm gonna point out some things on these officers' drawing and things that I just see as issues. If I was the range master, if I was training here, I would be correcting and trying to counter-train some of these habits. But let's go on.
And we're also incorporating a familiarization course on our...
Now, it's funny, I rarely wore a vest because I work plain clothes. So I just had a cover shirt on, or I had a mesh t-shirt that said police in big letters, task force on the back or whatever, wherever I was working. So I rarely wore a vest out in the field chasing bad guys. But when I ran the range, I had a vest on because I knew I was working with freaking cops. Okay? And I'm telling you, there are some freaking non-gun handling, non-gun people in the police world. For some reason, people have this misconception that because they're a cop, everybody's a gun guy. there are very few gun guys in police work. I mean, guys don't clean their guns. They don't take care of their equipment. They don't care. They carry a gun because it's part of the job. If it was up to them, they wouldn't. There's one guy that never took his gun out of the desk. He would intentionally leave it in the desk when he went out with me saying, hey, I'm not armed, so don't get involved in anything. I just need a ride. And he would get irritated if I got involved in something with him in the car. And then, usually I got involved with something because I'd see something and I'd act. And then he'd be like, man, I'm not having you drive me anywhere. We just can't go anywhere without you getting involved. So I was like, good. I don't want to be your freaking chauffeur anyway. Freaking little crybaby, pussy, pink panty, wearing your little sweater like Mr. Rogers. Anyway, I digress.
Our shoot to incapacitate option that we're now giving to all of our officers in their use of deadly force is.
How you doing? Can I get you to calm down, sir?
Okay, so it looks like the guys on the firing lines have their vest on, which is good.
Get you to calm down a little bit, sir. Sir, drop the piece of wood.
Okay, so he said drop the piece of wood. A lot of people will ask, a piece of wood isn't deadly force, Rick. What about disparity of force? He's got a gun. He's only got a piece of wood. Look, I'm sorry the way the law works, and you can hate on me. Any impact weapon can cause serious bodily injury and or death. Therefore, if you draw an impact weapon on an officer, he's going to pull his gun. You don't have to hit me with it. You don't have to stab me with a knife. If you pull a weapon that is likely to do it and you're close enough to use that weapon, then I can shoot you. Now, a piece of wood from this far away, unless it's a spear, I mean, this seems like a good distance. I didn't like shooting. This distance seems, I'm going to go 15, maybe 15 yards. That's about the longest I shot. I never did the 20 and the far ranging. I just didn't, unless we were doing some competition to see who had good trigger control. I don't think cops should be training on shooting people 30, 25, 50 yards away. That, to me, it's just not that necessary. Is there a situation when it could be? Yeah, it could be. And I think everybody will be able to shoot. But it's hard enough to get people to hit the damn target when they're 7 and 10 feet away from a suspect. And you got agencies out there wanting them to shoot at a farther distance. But again, it's up to each agency.
The result of my experiences internationally back in 2004, doing some exchange with the Israeli police.
Okay, so here's a police chief. He did some exchange and did some training with Israelis. Other countries do shoot to disable or to stop the person instead of to kill them. In the U.S., it's pretty much center mass. And I don't care how you say it, it's to kill somebody. It is not to stop them. I mean, they teach us to say stop them. But you're shooting at the heart, lungs, and spine area. You're trying to kill them. But, if you don't say that, somehow it's not true, and you're just shooting to stop the threat. And that's the legal term that the lawyers have all agreed that, okay, as long as you say you're inferior life and you were shooting to stop the threat, you're good to go.
And then some work with the State Department, and then most recently in the last 5 or 6 years with...
So this is a good little drill right here. They've got a door up here, which is kind of cool if you want to simulate kicking a door. You can have an officer come up here, kicks the door as the door goes down. They run through, and then they shoot targets. There's all kind of ingenious ways that range guys try to set up to get people to do things that they're going to be in actually run across.
The International Association of Chiefs of Police, it became increasingly clear that many nations train their officers to shoot to incapacitate, if that's possible.
Okay, so let's take a look at this guy shooting right here.
Nations
Hang on, let me get back to him.
officers to...
So he shoots and he takes a step back. I like that. A lot of ranges don't want to move. They want you to stand still when you shoot. To me, that's counter training. That's bad training. I think you need to be moving to shoot. You need to be moving to cover, create distance, know your footing. You shouldn't learn to shoot flat-footed. I hate rangers that stand in your spot, don't move your feet, blah, blah, blah. These targets turn. These guys use whistles. I don't like using whistles. I would rather use gun. Gun was my command to fire. If I yelled gun, that means you shoot. Some people said that's not good because somebody can yell gun and then you're training people just to shoot when they hear a gun. I'm not training them to shoot when they hear a gun. When they're at the range, the gun is the fire command. And here they're using a whistle. And people will say, well, if you're using a whistle and somebody blows a whistle, the cop's just going to mindlessly pull his gun and start shooting people. No. Well, if somebody yells at a gun, Ricks, they're just going to mindlessly pull their gun and start shooting people. No, that's not the way it works. But people that want to argue and kind of say that somebody's wrong and their way's better will come up with these lame arguments. So he takes a step back.
Shoot to incapacitate, if that's...
What I didn't like is his immediate, he went away from, and put his gun away as soon as he did it. So as soon as he fires this second round here, see the shell? As soon as this shell, before it hits the ground, he's already looking at his gun. He's like, oh, threat's over. I fired one round. This is teaching not to stay on target, reassess, give commands. I hate training where they teach people to reholster, to reload, and to do shit immediately after shooting. That's bad training in my book. This casing does not even hit the ground before this guy's got his gun off the threat and he thinks everything's fine. Look at him.
Possible.
I'm dropped my hand. I went relaxed. I'm looking down. Bad training, in my opinion. This agency is going to be, man, this guy thinks he knows everything. He's telling you you're doing it wrong. Whatever.
In 2019, I introduced that concept to our firearms instructors.
Okay, this drill right here, I'm not a fan of shooting away from a wall like this for several reasons. If you've never seen a round hit I do a story where we're trying to arrest some dude. The guy's got a gun in his hand, one of the cops, and he shoots the door jam and shit just splatters everywhere. Splinters, gunpowder, loud noise, ears ringing. We didn't know if the suspect shot. We didn't know if a cop shot. We're like, what the They're like three guys were fighting with a dude trying to get him into custody. A gun goes off and hits the door jam and shit just splatters. That's why I don't like shooting from objects like this. I know people will tell you to train and you shouldn't be close and you shouldn't telegraph if your gun's here. I like my barrel in front of an obstacle if I'm shooting around an obstacle like this. That's just me. This has been shot. It's cool when you have paper and it's shot because it doesn't matter. But if this is concrete, if this is some sort of siding, if this is something that shatters, if there's another officer over here or even another officer over here, they're going to get shrapnel from the bullet, from the casing, etc. It's not good. I do not like shooting. This is common training. I know people are going to say, well, Rick, if you're slicing the pie, you need to be away, and if you get too close, you can telegraph. And look, there's times and situations for this. I'm not a fan of being in a position to shoot this way. If I'm clearing a door jam, I will do this if I'm clearing a room and slicing the pie. You know what? There's still the threat there, which is why eye protection is good, even when you're not at the range, even when you're working. I always had my sunglasses on, unless I was in a house, and I popped them off because I couldn't see. But anyway, not a fan of this.
Firearms instructors, and asked them to think about it. And several months later, early 2020, we agreed to go ahead and research and develop a protocol that would allow for incapacitation.
So this guy fires and stays on target. This is good training in my book. He's reevaluating, he's assessing, he's not immediately firing and reholstering or reloading.
Research and develop a protocol that would allow for incapacitation shots.
So the whistle's what's going to signify him reaching down and picking up that object, okay? You're going to fire.
Put your damn vest on. You're around there with a bunch of cops, dude. You're more likely to get shot training cops at a range than you ever are going out chasing bad guys. Rick, that's not true. Cops are heroes, and when they stop a school bus and write tickets, it's dangerous. Okay, whatever. Freaking crybabies.
Fire 2 into any green or yellow section of the target.
Calm down, calm down. Drop the wood, drop the wood.
All police officers, when we
Putting a do not shoot at any range because you don't want cops to shoot it is almost like a bullet magnet. There's going to be cops. You notice there's bullet holes in this thing. If you want something to be shot, put do not shoot at a cop range. And every damn cop, every chance they get, will shoot that damn thing. I'm just telling you how cops are.
when you attend the police academy, through your firearms training, we're taught to shoot for the center of available body mass, which generally, through the training that we incorporate, includes the chest cavity. So what we've done is we began to incorporate or give another option that we've are calling shoot to incapacitate.
Again, bad training. He draws, 1 round, 2 round, drops his gun, I'm done, threat's over. I do not like teaching and shooting that way. That's just me.
Which just widens that area. There's no doubt shoot to incapacitate, which just widens that area.
So this guy is not holding on to the pump action. He's got his hand behind the pump action, almost underneath this. I would tell him to move his hand forward so he doesn't have to move his hand after he shoots to rack the round. Because after he shoots, now he's got to release his grip, move his hand forward, now grab it, now rack around. Whereas if his hand was already on it, it would be there. If I was training him, that's what I would tell him. I'm just giving my input, people. People can come here crying that don't like me, that just want to make a negative. Man, you just think you're perfect and you think everybody... Shut up, you freaking little pussy-ass badge polishing punks that come here thinking I'm cracking on the poor cops and I'm the problem. You're making people hate cops because you're doing these videos, you freaking crybaby.
There's no doubt that a shot anywhere on the body, to include the legs, the pelvic girdle, the femoral artery, and other things, can cause death and will cause death.
So let's look at this draw again, okay? Because this is lack of knowledge of your equipment. This is going to get you killed. If I had a guy trying to draw his gun 3 freaking times before he got out of the holster, I'm going to have problems with that. You're going to do some serious drawing with that holster, and you need to improve on that because that's a hazard. It's a hazard to another cop if you can't get your gun out and lay down cover fire or help him, and it's a hazard to your own dumb self. And if you're not smart enough to learn your damn equipment so you can draw your gun, then either get a new damn holster or put in the damn time and learn how to draw your gun.
And other things can cause
1,
death.
2, 3.
And will
okay,
cause
I got
death.
it. Man, that was tough. That's hard to get that gun out. That's what you get when you get all these triple threat, double threat, you got to tilt, gun snap, twist the holster, do the hokey pokey to get your damn gun out. I don't like that shit. Well, Rick, you don't want someone else taking your gun. You know what? I carried my damn gun with no strap, no nothing. I carried the old Glock holster. It just sat in there. But when I drew my gun, it came out fast. And if I'm dumb enough to let people get around my gun and grab it, well, then you know what? Maybe I deserve to have my gun taken. Rick, you just think you're shut up, you freaking crybaby.
But all of our officers are issued a tourniquet and a quick clot agent that they carry on their person at work every day. And with shots to these areas, we're able to potential person may be able to survive the gunshot's life. But the justification for deadly force has been met. Take this person.
Let me go back to this shooting here, see what I can see here. I always see cops popping fingers. Trigger control is important. When you squeeze that trigger back, especially on the range when you're trying to make a good shot. Now look, in an actual shooting, you're going to pump the trigger. You just don't, trigger control isn't a thing that you do unless you're like at cover and you're taking a long distance shot and you can slowly squeeze and make sure. But squeezing this trigger back and waiting for that trigger reset is critical to improving your accuracy. All cops, most shooters period, pop their finger as soon as they shoot. So let's try to go through here and see what we got. Man. Okay, so we have this one going here. Let's see if we can see his trigger. Actually, his trigger did not move pretty good. Let's see what the next guy does. So I can tell this guy is pulling right now. So this guy fired 2 shots. So there's 1 shot there. So his shot looks like he's pulling pretty good. And I can't tell. I didn't see his shot. All right.
Justification for deadly force has been met, and they're generally just reverting back to their training, which has been to shoot for center mass. This is a target that you commonly see used.
I'm surprised yellow. They're saying the hands, and a lot of people get shot in the hands. When somebody's holding a knife or gun, to me that's a big indicator of realistic fear. When a cop shoots a guy in the hands. Now, a lot of people will say he shots in the hand because he's holding it at center mass. If his hands are center mass, you're shooting center, you might do it. But cops get, and that could be a reason why hands are hit a lot. But a lot of times cops shoot in hands because they get tunnel vision on that threat, which is why I used to put a little dot or stick a button and say, focus on this button and try to hit it. Remember, aim small, miss small. If I'm focusing on a button instead of focusing on a chess, when you focus on the chess and just get it in here and think, oh, these are good shots. No, these ain't good shots. I want your shots right here around this button. And if they're not around a button, then you're not concentrating on a button. And if you ever shoot somebody or you ever got somebody at gunpoint, if you stare at a button or pick a focal point, your bullet will hit pretty close to that focal point. It's called point shooting, and where you stare is where your bullet will go.
In less lethal training, as you see, you have green, yellow, and red. In less lethal training, the green areas are areas that you generally will want to target when using some of the less lethal options that we use on pretty closely to exactly the lower part of the abdomen. These are areas, once again, that could slightly lessen the chance.
If you get a second whistle that would sound like that, that means those 2 shots did not work, and I want you to fire 2 center mass.
Okay, so basically he's teaching a Mozambique drill here. I call it the Mozambique, 2 to the body, 1 to the head. They're saying if a guy has, you get 2 into the chest, and the guy doesn't go down, then go for a headshot. Now, I would teach the pelvic girdle because that usually drops a guy. If you hit somebody, this is a nice large area, and if you hit somebody here, they're going down. They're not running at you, even if they're on drugs. I mean, this is just a... Now, obviously, you get hit there and maybe be able to run, but this is a pretty good stopping shot. If you shoot somebody in the pelvic girdle, they're going to go down. They're not going to continue. They may be able to shoot, but they're not going to continue to advance on you or decrease distance or get closer to you. They're going down. And then it gives you more time to either take cover, you can move away, etc., but they're on the ground at least.
Okay? We tried those 2, shoot to incapacitate. They didn't work. He's still coming. So now we're going to go to center mass. After you fire the...
That's a nice little bracelet you got there, dude. Anyway, I digress.
2 center mass, I want you to reassess again. If you get a 3rd whistle, that means the 2 center mass didn't work. So I want 1 cranial vault.
Cranial vault. That's a new term I guess they're using. We would just say a headshot. Evidently somebody got offended by headshot, and so now we have to call it the cranial vault.
So it'll be 2 in the green or yellow. If you get the 2nd whistle, 2 center mass. If you get the 3rd whistle, 1 cranial vault. Everybody got it? All right.
Sir, drop the piece of wood.
Did you notice how he wanted to go back to his holster? He almost reverted back to his training and went straight back to his holster after he made the 2nd shot. And then he remembered, oh shit, we're going to get a 2nd one. So let's watch that again.
Sir, drop the piece of wood.
And he almost went down right there. Instead of staying on target, keeping his side alignment, keeping his arms up, and seeing where the guy's moving, he went down to relax. That's why I don't like that. 2 shots and reholster your weapon. Fire 1 shot and reload. Fire 2 shots and reload. Fire 3 shots and holster your weapon. That's old school bullshit. I hated it when I was young, and I hated it when I was older, and I never taught it because I didn't like it.
Reassessing.
So this guy right here, I like the way he's shooting because he squeezes very softly and he has good follow through. He is going for a headshot. He pauses. He takes good aim at the head. I think he hits right here. But his follow through is very well. You can tell he held that trigger back after he squeezed it and kept his grip. This is, to me, this is fundamentally how you make good shots. I thought he did 2 shots.
Anytime you introduce...
Shit, was his gun empty? Did that lock to the rear? I can't tell if it's locked there. It almost looks like it's locked to the rear. I think it is locked to the rear. Is he out of ammo and didn't know it? Yeah, I can't tell. I think it's locked to the rear, me personally.
Anytime you...
So that's not good because he doesn't know his gun's locked to the rear. He ought to be keeping a gun hot. Unless they're training, shoot your gun dry and then wait for me to tell you what to do, which again is bad training. I want you always thinking on your own. If your gun's ever out of battery, a jam, you fix it, you clear it. If you ever run out of ammo, you reload and you get ready to get back in a fight. You always stay on target. You don't holster your gun until I say holster your gun. Your gun stays out anytime we're doing training, so I know that you're still on target, you're scanning for other threats, and you're ready for other threats. That's what I want people to learn when I teach them to shoot.
To introduce a new concept, particularly as I believe that because we studied it for almost a year, we did a classroom, explained it, and then facilitated scenario-based training with how this regiment of these.
So 27 years you've been taught to shoot center mass to stop the threat.
27 years.
And that's how I train. I like to train a lot all the time, practice my shooting skills, as you can see. And then when they implement something new, which I think is a good option to have.
Ain't no cop gonna come out to this range on camera and say this is bullshit when your department's teaching it and the chief's out there and they're filming you. So when he says I think it's a good idea, it's almost like an afterthought. It's like, I better say I agree with this.
Skills, as you can see. And then when they implement something new, which I think is a good option to have, especially where the society is going today, that we use lesser force that might not cause a fatality, maybe save someone's life, you know. So I think this is a good option to have.
I like it. I think it's something that I'll need to work more on, do more research and study to find out.
It's Park City, Utah police.
You know, if this still gives us the ability, it's one thing punching paper, it's another in practical.
That's a very good point. It's always easier at the range, no stress, under control conditions, waiting for a command, a whistle, a gun, etc. Obviously, we can't train actual and have people running around so we can actually shoot them, but you try to do the best you can to instill some good muscle memory and action.
Application, however, anytime that we can learn and change, we need to. So I think it's an opportunity for that, for sure.
I'm looking at how it impacts my community. I'm looking at how the training has impacted our officers. They appreciate this option. I know if we are in a situation where an individual...
Now, I kind of agree that most cops who are reasonable thinking would like the option to shoot somebody in the leg. I know I always wanted the option, but we were trained to shoot center mass. So, I mean, we just couldn't. Again, I think a warning shot should be optional also. When someone hears a gun goes off, it's a game changer. And it can stop, you know, the problem is, I think agencies don't want warning shots because they know that cops freaking, as soon as they hear a gunshot, they all empty their magazines because, you know, they're not held accountable. So if somebody fires a warning shot, you'll have 14 other officers empty their magazine on everybody in the area. So that's probably why agencies don't want warning shots. I think warning shots are acceptable as long as you do them reasonably. You're not shooting in the air. You're not shooting through a second-story building. You're not shooting at concrete to where you get a ricochet. You know, if it's done and it's thought about and it can be done effectively and safely, then I don't have a problem with it.
Is not killed when he's shot. That's going to bolster confidence. Anytime that you can preserve.
So this is where I think he does two shots, where I think he's got good fundamentals and good follow-through.
Life, what that does is earn trust and maintain the confidence of the public, which is
one
absolutely
shot comes down
necessary
easy,
if
smooth,
you're going to be effective.
and a second shot holds good follow-through. So this guy's, again, I think this is a 27-year-old dude. He's been around for a while, but I can just tell he's got good fundamentals. When it comes down to accuracy, he can make an accurate shot. He's probably thinking trigger control. He's thinking front sight. He's thinking follow-through. He's not jerking, etc. So this guy does good shooting here. All right, this video is used on Fair Use Act for critique and education, and hopefully you got something out of it. We'll end that there. You can argue it out and tell me how wrong I am in the comments.